welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing great. For those of you who don't know me, my name is MJ, and for those of you who are returning, welcome back. It's so good to have you guys all here. Thank you so much for joining me today. So today's video is actually going to be a review on the Singapore Math curriculum because we are getting into the endings of the semester and holiday vacations, and there's just a lot going on. So let's get started. So first I want to show you guys what it looks like. The curriculum comes with a textbook and a workbook, and this is for grades. This is 2A, so this is second grade, the first semester. And then you have 2B, which is second grade, second semester. And again, you have a textbook and a workbook. To have a full curriculum, you also need the instructor's guide. So this is the first year which I got the home instructor's guide, which is a little bit different than the teacher's guide, which this one is a teacher's guide from last year. So yeah, they're a bit different. And I want to show you guys from the inside as well. So we go with Home Instructor's Guide 2A, which is the one I'm using right now. It kind of tells you a little bit about the curriculum, and then it has a schedule worked out for you, which you can choose to do more or less than this, right? But it plans it out so that you can finish the curriculum in a 16-week period. 16 weeks for a total of 32 weeks, which is a little bit less than a whole school year. But this is the home instructor's guide. It tells you materials that you will need for like the whole school year, or at least for the whole first half of the school year. That was a fly. So you can see that was a fly. It tells you a little bit more about the curriculum, how to teach it, what to expect. Tells you a little bit more about scheduling here, solutions, some of the stuff, and tests. The tests are optional, which we'll get into that a little bit more later. And then it tells you what you need as far as materials every week, and what is going to be like the scope of the lesson for the whole week, like what's going to be taught, what's going to be learned. And here is this one. You do need to do a little bit of reading ahead of time to give yourself 5 to 10 minutes to read about the lesson, what's going on, what are you going to teach, what's to be expected. Chapter openers, and then the actual lessons themselves. And then if you go to the end of the chapter, it'll show you the answer sheets for all the worksheets for the whole lesson, for the whole chapter. See? Okay, so this is a home instructor's guide, and this one here is the one I used last year. This one's 1A. This one's for first grade. This is a teacher's guide. It's actually very different from the home instructor's guide. This one is planned out for a teacher, someone who has multiple students in class, and it seems to me that it's planned out for someone who's a little bit more familiar with Singapore Math and the concepts and how to teach it. So as you guys can see, it's more colorful. This will be like chapter 1. This is your list of materials and storybooks that you can read to your children. And then this is like the actual chapter opener. These pictures are actual pictures of the textbook. Yeah. So they're very, very different. This one also has a section where you can find out what stories you can read to supplement for that. I would definitely say that the teacher's guide is definitely for someone who understands dimensions math a little bit more. So sometimes it's not that clear as a beginning teacher what you're supposed to actually teach. So I would recommend that if you're not familiar with it yet, you would get the home instructor's guide, at least at the beginning, so that you can kind of understand what's being taught in a more simplified way, because it will teach it to you so you can teach it to them. So a whole school year looks like this. 6 books. And this is our workbook. You guys can see there's a lot of pages missing because we're going through it now. So we're heading to chapter 6. The reason why it's black and white is because they don't want to distract the children with colorful visuals when they're doing their workbook. But if you look at the textbook, which you do the textbook lesson first, it's very, very colorful. So if you look at the textbook, it's very colorful. And more so when they're younger. It has a lot more colors when they're younger. You have the option to get the tests. I got them last year for 1st grade, and honestly, I didn't use them. The reason why we didn't use them is because Singapore math on its own is very challenging curriculum. It requires more time. But I do instead, after a few chapters, so after like 3 chapters, they'll give you a lesson review. And that review lesson goes through everything they've learned from the beginning to that point. I just use that to test my daughter to see if there's anything that she's forgetting or we need to go back and review, instead of having to purchase the textbooks. So now for the pros and the cons. I want to start with the cons. I think the con that I have for Singapore Math Dimensions is that it's one of those curriculums that you have to sit with your child and do it with them, because even once you go through the textbook and you do the lesson, it's still not gonna be that easy. So it's one of those that they really need your guidance and your assistance. So for people who want to be a little bit less involved in their homeschooling, I don't think this is the curriculum for you. Now, that's the only bad thing I have to say about it. Okay, they are making home subscription videos. They have a certified Singapore math teacher teaching the lessons to your child, and you can pause it and repeat it whenever you want. I haven't purchased. I'm kind of thinking about it, but I'll let you guys know if I do. So now let's go to the pros. I think the biggest pro that I have for Singapore math is the skills that they're teaching. The way that I was taught math, it was more about memorization. What I realized with this curriculum is that it's focused on the skills. It's one of those that, yes, they want to teach you how to do it, but they want to teach you the skill so that you can do it. It's not focused on teaching you something to memorize. It's focused on teaching you how to solve this problem. It's a skill. There's no other word that I can use other than it's focused on teaching you skills to solve the problems. It'll definitely make your child think critically. It's not easy. It's not extremely difficult. It's in the middle. And I'd say that it's appropriate for every grade level. And I love the fact that, for example, here in the US, most kids won't learn multiplication or division. For sure, division is not taught in public schools until 3rd grade. And then multiplication is introduced. Not multiplication itself, but like beginning foundations of multiplication are introduced at the end of 2nd grade. Whereas Singapore math introduced those beginning foundational skills for multiplication and division in 1st grade. And in 2nd grade, we're actually getting into multiplication and division in chapter 6. So this is multiplication and division chapter 6. So she was taught this in first grade. So here we're reviewing this. And then it actually gets into how to do this easier, right? And then we get into 6 times 2. And then it's more multiplication. Then we get into lesson 4, and then we start with division, how to separate those groups. As I was saying, she learned the basic skills for this in first grade, and now she's going to actually get into multiplication. And then in third grade, it's going to be multiplication with bigger numbers, more difficulty. It's been the consistent pattern with this, and that is what I love about this curriculum. I honestly don't plan to change it. I did a lot of research before we even bought it, and I knew that for math, I really wanted to be hands-on. I wanted to be there. I wanted to teach her, and I wanted her to understand it. So this curriculum, I think that if you're one of those persons that you're thinking about purchasing Singapore Math Dimensions versus another curriculum, just give it a chance. You are required to be there and to teach your child. It's not an activity that they can do alone. I think it'd be very rewarding for them, not just math, but just in general. If you think about it, math is needed in every part of your life. At your job, just to even do basic grocery shopping, you need math. So math is essential for everyone. It's a universal language. Having a good understanding, or at least a good skill to be able to solve any mathematical problem no matter what, is the goal of this curriculum. And I think that they do a very, very good job at executing that. Definitely worth it in all ways because it's also not expensive. I think it's no more than $150 for the whole curriculum. I think just for thought, if you are kind of thinking about homeschooling and you happen to fall upon this video, I just want to let you know that homeschooling can be challenging, but it's not challenging most of the time. Most of the time it's pretty easy, especially if you try to get curriculums that have everything planned out for you so that you don't have to do most of the building work. So you don't have to worry about gathering materials all the time. Pick things that are easy to use, just open and go. And that would make your homeschooling journey a whole lot easier as well. It also takes away the fear of not being enough or not knowing enough to teach your kids. I feel like that's kind of one of those things that really holds a lot of people back, feeling like they don't know enough or they won't be able to do enough to teach their kids like they would in public school. But when you have curriculums that are laid out and planned for you, most of the heavy lifting is already done. You just have to come in and execute that. I haven't noticed my daughter being behind in anything compared to kids that are in public schools. I would actually say that for the most part, she's either at grade. Actually, so we homeschooled through a charter school, and they took every year they take an assessment test at the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year, just to kind of see where she was at the beginning and where she's at the end. So for math, my daughter did very, very well. For algebra, geometry, I forgot what was the other one. And there was 4 categories. And for 3 out of the 4 categories, she scored like if she was at the end of 2nd grade. And for the other categories, she scored like if she was in the middle of 2nd grade. Meaning that this curriculum is doing awesome because she's at the beginning of 2nd grade and she scored like she was at the end of 2nd grade or the middle of 2nd grade. That speaks for itself. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and please be safe out there. Take really good care of yourselves. May God bless you all. And I will see you guys all next weekend. Bye.